to talk about a little bit about Torah and how Torah ties in, and we'll talk about this a little bit to begin with, and then everyone's waiting for me to tell the method, how to talk about, then we'll get into the methodology. Rabbi told me we have a few more sessions to go. So first let's talk about, so to speak, the mission. We talk about the why a lot, so let me start with the following. I was at a conference. Conference had Rabbi Shmuel Field was sitting at the conference. Somebody raised their hand. They asked the question, Rabbi, what are some good consequences to give children? Question, what consequences are good to give children? So Rabbi Kamenetsky said, my mother always taught me that bees are attracted to honey. Meaning, he didn't give any consequences. There were no consequences to give. My mother always taught me that bees are attracted to honey. Meaning that we create an environment within which it's a safe environment, it's a positive environment, that we don't need to come on necessarily to consequences, or the need for consequences becomes much lower. And we'll see that as this kind of unfolds a little bit throughout the next time we speak. But tonight I want to talk a little bit about where our focus is. We're about to receive the Torah. We receive the Torah on Har Sinai. What does that mean to us? How does that apply to us today? And so let's start for the first with that. Anybody heard of the Alter from Kelm? Ashkenazi. There were two yeshiva systems in the Ashkenazi system. There's the yeshiva system of the Musar system of Kelm and Slobodka. The city of Kelm is very unknown because the Nazis came into the city of Kelm and they literally killed out everybody from the yeshiva. 2,000 plus students, including the Rosh Yeshiva, were all killed out. There were very few surviving students from the Alter from Kelm. But one of his students was Rabbi Rocham Lubavitch, who was Revolba, and so the Alter himself, he followed the learning Seder of the Gra. Just to give you an idea of who he was. What does that mean? He learned for 8 hours straight, then another 8 hours straight. He davened, each one of his tefillot, he davened 1 hour Shemona Esrei. So you do the math, that's 19 hours. He slept for 2 hours a day. He wouldn't sleep for more than a half an hour at a time, like the Gra. So fall asleep for less than half an hour, go back to sleep, fall asleep for less than half an hour, go back to sleep. That's another 2 hours, that's 21 hours. The other 3 hours he spent in the yeshiva with his students. And he had the impact that he had on all the students just in that little amount of time. That's who he was. So here's one of his foundational ideas. And this is a very important idea, so listen carefully. The Torah is not a bunch of bedtime stories. We hear the stories of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and it's like, it's a nice story. Avram was nice. He did a nice thing. Yitzchak was nice. It's a nice story, and we think about it like a preschooler. We never get out of that mentality. We never think about the depth of how deep these stories are. Like Avram Avinu and what happened. So let's take a really easy story to put this into perspective. Like, there's 12 brothers, and they get in a fight, and one brother gets kicked out. Like, okay, my kids fight all the time. Right? Like, it's much bigger than that. We are descendants. If one of the Shvatim would walk in here right now, what do you think would happen? Like, most of us might faint because they're so holy. Like, how holy were they? How holy were the 12 tribes? Like, if you think about it, like, what's holy about them, right? So here, the Gemara, the Medrash in Parshas Vayigash says the following: Yehuda is up against Yosef. He doesn't know Yosef's his brother. Yosef's some king, right? So he wants to show his brother, hey, you want to mess with me and my brothers? You want to mess with us? Let me show you what's going to happen. So he takes a rock about this size, a rock, and he crushes it. He crushes it like flour. The Medrash says, like this size rock. He goes, "Rrr!" It says that he was so angry there was blood coming from his eyes. Like he said to his brothers, he motioned to them, if we don't get this brother out of jail, we are going to take on the entire Mitzrayim. What does that mean? Like Mitzrayim was the metropolis of the world. It was the greatest power in the world. Like 10 brothers are going to fight the entire country. Like they take on thousands of soldiers on their own. That's how strong they were. Imagine Yehuda walks in this door right now. Like, whoa! Like he could knock down the whole building just by blowing. It said he screamed so loud that his deaf nephew heard him and came running. In a different country. Chushim ben Dan, the deaf nephew, comes running because he heard Yehuda scream. Yehuda's roar was so loud. Like, that's what we're talking about. So it's not like little brothers having a fight. Like, this is big, major. The stories in the Torah are enormously big and major, and they affect us and impact us in big ways. And so we have to take a step back and say, like, whoa, the Torah is much bigger than we really give it credit for. And when we hear a story from the Torah, I remember I saw a Rebbe, and I'm gonna give you the. Sorry, I'm just getting my head. So, a boy in the class, when I first became a Rebbe, I observed the second grade Rebbe. So a boy in the class asked a question about, like, so what? It's Avram Avinu. So here's what the Rebbe did. He buttoned his jacket like this, put on his hat like this. You want me to talk about Avram Avinu? Like, you want me to talk about who he was? Like, let's put on our finest clothing to understand who this person was. Like, we wouldn't be here right now if it wouldn't be for Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. You want to have a conversation? Like, first let's get into the mode of who these people are. Like, Avram Avinu is like major. Like, if you would meet Avram Avinu, you'd probably faint also. He's the father of everything that we have. Yitzchak, Yaakov, like, these are real big stories, not small stories. And we have to get out of the mentality of saying, like, the Torah is like this book. It's not like this book. It's why we were created. It's what makes the world go round. Like, no Torah, no world. Like, these books disappear, God forbid, like, we all disappear. The world ceases to exist. We read every Shabbat from the Torah because it's that important. We review these stories every year because they are that important. And so we have to take a step back and say, like, whoa, like, this is big. So the Torah has a lot of big things to talk about, and a lot of big things to teach us. And how do we get into this mentality? Like, how do we get into a mentality we don't see? So I'm going to tell you a little funny story. Last year, I went to a conference. I actually went to it this past weekend in the same place. It's in the Poconos in a hotel called the Kalahari. If you ever heard of the hotel, the Kalahari, if you go to the basement of the Kalahari looks like a casino in Las Vegas, but it's just video games. The video games everywhere. Now, this is a conference with big rabbis, beards much longer than mine, like yours, even bigger, but grayer, right? Like, really holy people, yeah? No rabbi's going to go into the arcade, right?
Why not?
Right? Well, yours truly, and a group of 3 other principals, there's, at the end of the arcade, is a ride called the virtual reality game. So one of my friends, I have to say, I didn't initiate it, but I agreed to go along with it. Is like, they need 4 people for the game. There's a break in between lectures. Let's go to the game. I'm like, all right, let's go. We spent the whole day in lecture. Spend a day playing. Okay. So we go to the game. We have no idea what we're getting ourselves into. We go and get the instructions of what we have to do and how we do it. And this game is we're killing zombies and we're saving the world. So you put on the virtual reality glasses, and then he's there, and my name was Phoenix, his name was like Rebbe, whatever, and I get there and they give me this big gun, like it's like very hard to hold, it's like so heavy, and there's 4 of us, and we're supposed to take stations, and we're fighting zombies. Okay, so here we are, like the zombies are coming, and we're shooting, like, shooting thousands of zombies. We are saving the world, okay? And I'm in there with my 3 other buddies, and we're saving the world, okay? And when you're in virtual reality, it's real. Like I'm literally like I'm saving the world, right? I'm saving, and I'm killing the zombies, and I'm getting the blockades, and like if I don't kill the zombies, the world's finished, right? Okay, now here's how it goes. If you kill a zombie, you have to shoot him in the head. If you don't shoot him in the head and you shoot him in the legs, he'll crawl up to you. So I'm about 10 minutes in the game, like we're in it. We're shooting, we're killing, we're saving the world, like you know what your mission is, right? All of a sudden, I'm in the middle of shooting, and a zombie comes literally right there, and I was like, oh! And like I got so into it, like I'm saving my life by shooting the zombie. Okay? And now, like I had this unbelievable major awakening. Like that is this world. We get so stuck in what goes on in this world. We take it so seriously, like the physical world, that we're like, it's like shooting the zombie. Like, and then I woke up and I'm like, hey, dude, did you see what you just did? Like I told myself, like, you just jumped because a zombie that doesn't exist is trying to kill you. Like, you get like, there's one zombie that's like, so I got scared. I'm like scared the zombie's gonna hurt me. And then I realized like, you jump out of it for a second, but we're in a physical world, and we get so pulled into this physical world that we're inside of, it is so hard to see that it doesn't matter. Like all that matters is what's spiritual. Nothing that's physical matters. To illustrate this idea, you might have heard the story. It's a famous story from the Chafetz Chaim. Like, I'll say it briefly. There's somebody who, he couldn't make a parnasa, so he heard there's a place that, an island, it takes a year to go back and forth, it's one boat a year, so he takes the boat, he goes to the island, he shows up, and literally everywhere you go on the island, there's diamonds. He gets off, he fills his pockets with diamonds, and now he has to wait for the boat to come. It's going to be another year. So he goes to the store, and he wants to buy himself something to eat. So he takes the food, he brings it over there, he pays with diamonds. They're like, we don't take diamonds. Like, go to the store and pay with a rock. Like, here's a rock, I'll trade you a rock for, they're like, we don't take your diamonds. So he has to go get a job. So he gets a job. And he's wildly successful. Now in this place, there's different versions, but let's say they pay in onions. You pay in onions. Everything is, the currency is onions. You want to buy something, you go to the butcher shop, you pay him 10 pounds of meat, 10 pounds of onions. Trade off. Clothes, you want a suit, 10 onions. So by the time he's finished after a year, he's amassed a wealth of onions. So what does he go home with?
Onions.
Onions! He goes back home, his family's so excited. He brings look what I got! Rotten onions! What do you get rotten onions for? His family says to him. He said, what do you mean? I was at this, I made a lot of money, I amassed all this money. They said you were supposed to get diamonds. And he faints. And he wakes up the next day, and when he wakes up, the story goes that he had left one diamond in one of his pockets, and they were able to live off that diamond. But he realizes he wasted his whole year, that he could have been amassing diamonds to live the rest of his life because he was so busy just in the living in the moment. And that's what this world does to us. This world pulls us in. With all the stresses of the world, we're pulled in to, we forget what our focus is. Why are we here? What are we doing here? Like, here, ready? Everyone here. Hashem took your neshama. You're a neshama, everyone here. And he said, okay, here's your purpose. You have to fulfill this purpose in life. You have a specific purpose I'm giving you. Then Hashem says, okay, let's talk about which sarot you're going to have in life. Hashem goes through with you what sarot you're going to have in life. And he says, okay, now I'm going to put inside of you all the strength to overcome all the challenges, to live up to your expectation of what you can accomplish in this world, and to overcome tzarot. And you ever look at somebody else and say, like, how does that person deal with it? Like, you ever saw somebody has like such a terrible tzara, chas v'shalom leilin, if somebody loses a child, like, we can't even begin to fathom what that's like, right? Because we can't, because it's not our tzara. We can't understand somebody else's pain. We can only understand the pain Hashem gave us, and Hashem gave us, within us, the ability to overcome that pain. It's already downloaded into our neshama. So before we come into this world, we have the ability to handle everything that Hashem sends us, and we have a mission. Now, what's the scariest moment in a person's life? The second that we die. The neshama wakes up and says, whoa! I've been alive for 120 years and I forgot my focus and now I missed it out on the opportunity to do what I was supposed to do in this world. It's that exact moment that a person, the Vilna Gaon says, you wake up and you realize everything that you forgot. Every question you ever had is never a question anymore. Like, why did this happen to me? Like, it won't ever be a question. After 120, there are no questions. Like, the neshama comes out of the body after 120, and the neshama knows every reason for everything that happened. There's no more questions, like, why did this happen to me? It's not a question, because you knew it was going to happen beforehand. All that happened is right over here. We just forgot it. But we didn't forget it forever. It's in the subconscious. It's in the neshama. It's all the way deep inside. It never really went away, so we all know that we have a mission. We know that we have to accomplish that mission, and what happens is we end up like in the virtual reality game, like we're fighting zombies, like as if we're really taking over the world, like as if what we're doing is really so important. But like it's not. Like, what's the exciting thing? Like when I get a new pair of shoes or get a new car. Like it's not as exciting to get a new car as it is to come to the class. Like I know I'm a good lecturer, or I hope at least I'm a good lecturer, but I mean, if I offered you a new car tonight or come to the class, like of course you're going to take the new car, right? It's much more exciting. But if we really look at our lives and say like, whoa, what's more important? Like if I can get one piece of Torah, how much is its value? What's the value of a piece of Torah? Are you ready? I don't know, maybe you've heard this before, maybe not, but it's good to review. Rav Dessler says, take all pleasure, anytime anybody felt good. From the beginning of time till today, every person in the world put it into one pill and swallow that pill for 1 minute of pleasure. Like that's all the pleasure that ever existed in the entire world ever in one pill, and you can experience that for 1 minute. He says that is not compared to the reward in Olam Haba, the reward in the world to come, for just the 1 minute that you listen to me right now. Like that's how much bigger it is. So what we have coming there doesn't compare to all the pleasure that one can experience in this world. as a combined experience. So when we get into thinking about what are we doing here? Why are we here in this world? We have to be focused on the mission. And what's the mission? How do we find our mission? We can only find the mission in Torah. So what detracts us from doing that? And every generation has one design that detracts them. And this generation it's not just a cell phone, it's all technology. Why is it all technology? Technology gets us to stop thinking. Think about that for a second. We don't think. We don't have time to think. How could we? Buzz this, buzz that, buzz this between text messages, Facebook messages, emails, Instagrams. Like you go through all of how many things are we connected to all day? Like how many times do we check our phone? Ready? 5 years ago, it was an average of 80 times a day. Today, we're up to 150 times a day. On average, a person checks their phone 150 times a day. That is chaos. Think about that. Like we all do that. We're all inclusive in that. It's not like, this is the study that's shown for most people. Most people on average check their phone 150 times. How can we think? How could we ever think? Okay, so if you go to a psychiatrist, they have a book. The book is called the DSM. It has all the diagnoses that could ever be diagnosed, right? So in the new DSM, there's a new diagnosis. I just want to say it right. It's called nomophobia. Nomophobia is the fear of not having cell phone contact, meaning your phone goes out of cell phone contact. So they think that there's about 40% of people that will fall into the category of having a phobia of not being able to connect on their cell phone. And could you imagine the ramifications of that? The level of digital addiction that goes on today, like it's staggering. It's staggering when you think about something that's been around for 10 years. Like the iPhone came out in 2007, I believe. Like we're talking 10, 11 years. And like it's taken over the world in every single way possible. Now, obviously we need it to live, right? But at the same time, we didn't need it not to live also. Like we have to just be able to put it down a little bit. And we have to realize the importance of thinking. What does that mean to think? Does anybody know what does it mean to think? When I say think, what does it mean? Ready? Just stop. And think. That's literally thinking. Like just in a simple way. Like it's just like literally just stopping. 1 second. Let me have a minute to just think about that. Like when's the last time you said that? Hold on. It's like taking time. We can't. You know why we can't do it? Because life is so chaotic. Like the Yetzer Hara's got it so good that we're on the run. You can't think like this. This is what the phone has us doing. Like try thinking now. Like it's really hard. Like I'm trying to think about something. It's hard to focus. This is all day. And it's not just that, because we're also running between all the things that we have to do. Because we got the kids over here, and my wife there, and I got to go to work, and I'm answering my phone on my cell phone, and I'm doing it all at the same time. And now I'm trying to think about something really important. Like it's impossible. It's literally impossible. The only way to do it is to shut it off a little while. Like we literally have to just put it down and put it on the side and take some time to just not be with it. Like, goodbye. Studies show husbands and wives sit with each other for 10 minutes. Phone is in front of them, so no matter what, at some point within 5 minutes they'll be playing with the phone. Phone is put away. Not only are they giving each other attention, but they're actually being empathetic. Empathy is when I say, I care about what you're saying. I'm showing you I care by giving you my attention, and then kind of reversing back to you like, wow, that must have been really hard. Like you must have had a really hard day today. Like we can't be empathetic when we have the cell phone in front of us. That's what studies show. Study after study after study. I'm not just telling you like, I'm giving you like major studies, not even minor studies. If anybody's interested, I have all the places in the bottom if you want notes to look up these studies. Like Rabbi Field, are you being serious? Like totally serious. A study that was done asking 300 kids what's the most important thing for their parents, or what kids feel about their parents, and the parents have just quoted says that children believe their parents pay less attention to them than their smartphones. Meaning our phones are more important than us. That's how kids feel in general. Like 300 kids said, phone is more important. A phone is more important. So let me tell you an unbelievable epiphany that I had. This is like, Mina Shemayim. I think I'm a very important person. School, I have employees, I have parents, they want to get in touch with me all the time. I went to a conference or some meeting. I left my phone in the car. And I'm like, I'm on my way walking in, and I'm like, oh. And I'm like, I'm just going to leave it, right? I leave my phone. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't even know what disasters are going to come up, right? So I'm sitting in this meeting, I'm like taking notes, thinking like, oh, what's on the phone, right? Okay, 2 hours later, I come back to my phone. No disasters. School's still open. Kids are all okay. Like, I got a few texts and missed phone calls that I can always call back for. And I was like, whoa! Like, we all think that the world will die if we don't have our phone with us. And like, I realized, like, that's not true. And it took me time. It was hard. I started putting my phone down. Like, I started not carrying my phone with me everywhere I went. Like, I actually walked into my house and left my phone in the car for an hour. It's like, whoa! And everything is still standing. Like, I'm yet chas v'shalom, that should never be. People know how to get in touch with me. They have to call my wife or something, call my house. But like, there hasn't been any major disasters. Like, people can handle things and life goes on and we're okay. But what we're conditioned to believe, because the people that make these phones are really, really smart. Like, they have $1 million educations. And there's a lot of these very smart people that get together in the room and they say, how can we get people to never put the phone down? So the smartest people that have the highest education sit around a table and say, okay people, we want to make sure people never put their phones down. So what should we do? And they do all these crazy things to make us think that it's so important that they trick us into believing, like, I got to answer the email because it's buzzing. And if there's an alert, what does that mean? It means they need me. It's like getting paid. I'm important. Right? I have to answer Instagram because if I don't get there, then it's going to disappear. Right? It's like geniuses get together and like they think of all the things that are going to cause us. We can't let go of the phone, and what happens? We fall into it. Like, we fall into this pattern of like, they got us. Like, they really tricked us. Like, we really believe that we're so important that we can't put down our phone for 5 minutes. Because why else do we need our phone? If it's not because somebody needs us, what else is there? Like, nothing. Like, because I want to look something up? I can look it up later. Like, because I need to know what time it is in China? I mean, it's not that important that I have to have my phone with me. So, like, they've made us believe that it's so important, and then, therefore, there's all these alerts that go off. And who could live without it, really? Like, how can you live without the alert? Like, how am I going to know when to brush my teeth? How am I going to know when to go to the bathroom? How do I know when to take a shower? The phone's got to tell me, remind me, got to go to the bathroom now, take your medication. Make sure you give a kiss to your kids. Like, all the things are on the phone. How am I going to remember? We have a phone here. Hashem gave us a phone. And we can actually remember things. Like, people function for thousands of years without it. Again, we need the phone. I'm not saying that we don't need the phone. But I am saying what the phone has caused for us is like, we cannot think. We're always on the move. There's always the buzz. Anybody ever have the phantom buzz on Shabbat? The phantom buzz, like you think that you felt a buzz? Yeah, that's fake. That's popular. Most people experience that. Like, you think because your phone is always in your pocket, you have the phantom buzz, and you're like, oh, Shabbat, I got my phone with me. But it happens when you don't have your phone with you, and it's popular, and people know about it. It's called the phantom buzz. Right? What are we thinking about? Like, what's the first thing? Ready? Shabbat's over, Havdalah's over, first thing. For sure. For sure. I realized a few months ago, I'm like, what am I getting? Like, who called me on Shabbat? Like, I don't have anything that happened on Shabbat that I need to get my phone for. Okay, I'll get it, but like, I'll run from Havdalah. I'm like, running to get my phone one time. I'm like, what are you getting it for? Like, what do you need your phone for? Like, I'm not expecting any calls. There's nothing going on. It was like just a regular life. All my kids are home. Like, my kid's coming home. I got to get my phone. But like, all my kids are home. Like, everything's just normal. Like, okay, so I don't get it for the first 20 minutes after Shabbat. Like, whoa, nothing's going to happen. Like, I realize that when you start to think about how much the phone affects us and how much the phone, but it's a big deal because what happens is that what the phone has been able, chaos means we can't think. Chaos means we can't think. Like, when we're in a moment of chaos, when lots of things are going on, it's really hard to make a decision. Like, you have all the kids running around and screaming, and your husband or wife asks you like a big question. Like, what are we doing for the summer? Like, you're asking me that now? Like, I can't talk about the summer now? Like, right now it's the middle of May. I mean, the kids are screaming, yelling. Ask me when the kids are sleeping. You ever had that in dialogue? Like, let's talk about something major. Like, how are we going to pay this bill? Now? Like, he's screaming, this one wants dinner, and now you want to have the conversation? Like, there's too much chaos. I can't answer the question. Right? When there's a lot of chaos, we cannot think within chaos. The Sha'arei has found the best method for us not to be able to think. Don't think. There's always chaos around us. So we never have the opportunity to get into our mind and think, what are we thinking about? Again, the mind can't even process information if it doesn't have quiet. Like there has to be time for quiet. Any successful person, or just about any successful person that you will hear about how their success, they take time every day without anything around. Like they close their devices, they close everything. And like they take time just in silence or quiet. Why? Because we have to find a place where there's no chaos. The phone in our pocket is constant chaos. It means at any point in time I could be called. So what does that mean? The phone means that I'm always on, always, right? Oh, might be a call. I'm walking around like this. Oh, it's the phone? No, it's just I was walking in the store today. Oh, I have my phone in my pocket. Oh, no, go. Okay, put it back in my pocket. Why? Why? Because somebody might call, and what might happen? Like, okay, so it's not a time to talk about, so I'm not going to talk about this now at length, but what does it mean to think? When we think about thinking, what does thinking mean? Okay, there's one element of thinking. There's a lot of elements. Women say, one of the things they say, women have more bina. What is bina? In English is understanding. I don't know what it is. And how do you say understanding? Okay, and the other is knowledge. How do you say knowledge? Okay, so let's talk about bina. What's bina? Okay, so bina is understanding. Understanding means that I can see from outside of myself, okay, and I can make connections between different things. I can connect two pieces, and by making that connection between A and B, I can now use that connection and understand a lot of other things because of it. Okay? Connection, right? I see a man wearing a yarmulke in the synagogue. I'm going to make a connection that most men in the synagogue are going to be wearing a yarmulke. Right? That's bina. Bina is the ability to see something, understand it, and then start making connections around it. And when I can start making connections, women have a deeper bina. Why? I believe the answer is because women have a deeper level of emotional understanding. So what we might not be able to see as men emotionally, a woman could see that if a man is in a situation, or a woman, or somebody's in a situation, that situation will repeat itself on an emotional level, and they'll be able to connect that emotional level on an emotional level to something else or another situation. Right? So let's just take that idea for a second. So we have the ability to see from within inside us something that happens outside of us and connect that to other areas of our life. That's a thinking system that we use innately, like we know that thinking system, but how do we really apply it? Well, we definitely can't apply it if we can't use our brain or our mind. Okay, I'm moving on because that one I could spend all day on, but I'm going to move on. Okay, one last study. If you watch TV or are on the screen before you go to sleep at night,
can't sleep.
Well, it says it's 2 hours until your brain waves, like studies show 2 hours until the brain calms down from seeing it. The brain gets stimulated by seeing the screen. It takes 2 hours after that for the brain to calm down and to go to sleep. So if you ever wonder why you have a hard time sleeping at night, like how many of us sleep with our phones next to our beds? Put it on Do Not Disturb. Like go to sleep at night without any buzzing, no buzzing. Like we start to detract, and therefore now what am I coming back to? I just want to come back to the point that we're talking about, which is what do we want? We want to be able to connect to Torah. We cannot connect to Torah if we can't think. We cannot connect to Torah if there's something else that's guiding our life, right? And today, in the outside world, technology and the rush of today, and what goes on. Like, was it easier in the olden days? Well, some things were easier and some things weren't. Like, how do they wash clothes? Right? You went down, it was a day event, washing clothes. Like you went down to the river with a bucket and this little, whatever it was called, and they washed the clothes, and they put it out to dry, and then, and then you bring it back, and that was a day event. Today, it's like one of the many things that we can get done within the day. Like we have all these devices, but the devices sometimes make it more complicated than less complicated. So on the one hand, we can get things done faster, but on the other hand, we're keeping up with so many things. Does anybody have this problem? Like, I don't even know the password anymore to all of my accounts. Passwords and logins. I have like 15, 20 logins now and different passwords, and you have to change them every 3 months. Like, you could go crazy from it. Like when my grandfather did the bills 20, 30 years ago, like he sat at the table once a month for 2 hours,
Wrote the checks,
and he sent it in the mail. Like now I have to go on the thing, I have to have a password for my password page because somebody might log into my computer and get my passwords. I have to have a code word for the word password so no one can figure out that it's my password page. Then I get onto it and I have to remember which password it was because I had to change the password last time because I put in the wrong password 3 times, so it automatically changes. It's like impossible to function. Like, and I can't have all the same ones because if anybody gets my identity, all they have to do is just know that everybody knows that your wedding anniversary, right? Everything is your wedding anniversary or your birthday. Like, it's not hard to figure it out. So then you're just like, it's so hard to keep up with. So again, all the technology and everything that we have, but it still at the same time gets us like, again, we create this amount of chaos. And what we want to do is get rid of the chaos so that we can let Torah in. Like Torah will not come in if there's chaos around us. And now, but at the same time, if we let the Torah in and we see these examples in the Torah as they're not just stories. They're actually real life experiences that if we share them, if somebody has a bad experience and they share it with you, and then you don't make that mistake, do you know how valuable that is? Like somebody told me, the school's hopefully going to be opening up a kitchen so we can make food within the school. We can have meat meals, right?
Wow.
So I was talking. So I was talking to a restaurant owner here in Arizona, and he told me, Rabbi, I lost $500,000 on putting as I spent money on things in the kitchen I shouldn't have spent money on. Call me, I'll tell you what to do and what not to do. Like, wow, that's valuable. That can be very helpful, right? And from his mistake, I can learn so much. So Hashem put in all the mistakes in the Torah that we could have possibly made. Like, what God would put the mistakes in? God's going to make them all look good, right? That's one of the proofs that the Torah is real. He put all the bad things about us instead of the good things. If you want to join this religion, like, what are you going to put into the Torah? All the good things. Make us look good, right? But no, it's all the bad things that we did, and some of the good things also, and all the lessons that we can take out of the Torah. So what are the lessons that we have? So there's a pasuk in Mishlei that tells us a very interesting thing. Have you ever lost something and knew that you lost it like where you were? Like I literally just lost something and I was standing right here. Like you're in your house and you're like, I had my keys in my hand. Like I know my keys are right here. Right? When you look for it, what are you looking for? You're looking for something that you know is there. If I tell you, in this room somewhere, you might find a $100 bill. Like, okay, what do you want me to do? Look around? Like, I'm not going to be looking as hard, because maybe there's a $100 bill somewhere in this room, and maybe not. Right? But if I know something's there, if you knew you walked in here tonight with your keys, then when you look for your keys before you leave, you're going to look for them until you find them, because you know that they're in here, right? So here's what the pasuk in Mishlei says to us. If we look in Torah, knowing that we'll find the answer will be there. But we have to look in the Torah, not like maybe the Torah has the answer, maybe not. Like the Torah has the answer. So we have to believe that the answer is in the Torah, and we'll find the answer in the Torah. And there are countless examples, and I'll give a few because I don't want to take too long tonight, but there are countless examples where the Torah tells us, like, I will show you how to do this through the Torah. Like, one of the best illustrations to me of this concept is a brain surgeon in Eretz Yisrael called the Chazon Ish to ask him how to perform a brain surgery on a specific patient. He never went to medical school, the Chazon Ish, right? He only learned Torah. He only knew Torah. It's all there. Like, it's an amazing thing. In Torah is everything. Like, literally anything you need. Like, people ask, like, why would somebody ask the rabbi about something about have to do with parnasah? Because it's all there. Like, great people know and can apply these concepts everywhere. Because the greatness of Torah is there. We can learn so much from it. So, for example, Avram Avinu, we learn about Avram that he buys a place for his wife to be buried, right? So what do we learn from that? When he buys that place, what are the things that we learn? So Rav Shach brings down, there are many things we learn from it. We learned that he got permission from everybody around first. He came there and he said, does anybody mind if I buy this plot of land? Everyone said no. Fine. So then he went to speak himself to the owner. He said, I don't want to have any intermediary. I want to speak directly to the person who owns it. Fine. He says everyone says you can't just buy the cave. You have to buy the whole land. So Avram says, fine, I'll buy the whole land. He gives him an exuberant amount of money that he has to pay. He doesn't negotiate. He says, fine, I'll pay the full amount of money. He says, I want to pay you while everybody's here. So he takes out his wallet right then and there, and he pays him right then and there. So what we see from the Torah is how you do a business deal. So from this story, the elder from Kelm was asked one time by somebody, can I send the non-Jew as my messenger? This story took place about 80 years ago, to go buy some land for me. And the elder said, no, because you see, Avram Avinu, who was an old man, wanted to do it himself. It must mean you have to do it yourself. The man didn't listen. He asked somebody, he sent somebody to do it for him. He lost all his money and all his land. In other words, the Torah gives us lessons that are there that are real life lessons. It's not like, oh, Avram did this thing. Like, why did he do it? And we have to start taking it apart. How? Why? Here you go. Ready? Everyone's Parnasa, it says, we learn from Avram Avinu, is in the schus of the wife. That's right. The parnasa is in the schus of the wife. The Gemara Bava Metzia. The parnasa is in the schus of the wife. So what does that tell us? Well, first of all, we've got to treat our wives good. We want to have good parnasa. right? But then also, but it also like it's a really deep concept if you think about it. Like, what does that mean, the parnassus and the souls of the wife? Well, what responsibility does the wife maybe have towards that, right? Or like, when do you give in? Like here we see, we fight with each other all the time. When do we give in? So Avram, we see he has a fight with his wife about their son to send him out, and like eventually he says, okay, fine. Or here, Leah. Leah is destined for a terrible life. She has to marry Esau. Like, Rabbi, why are you talking about this stuff? Because think about it. She had to marry a guy that she didn't want to marry. So what did she do? How? She prayed. By praying, she changed her destiny. That's a major concept. Like, I can pray and life can change. A prayer can change life. Like Choni Amago made a circle and he said, Hashem, I'm not moving from the circle until rain comes. Like, we can pray and make a change. So when we go to pray, do we believe that changes are happening? It's a very hard concept to really think about. Like, I can really make a change in my life if I pray? But the answer is yeah. Yaakov Avinu, when did he rebuke his children? On his deathbed. What does that mean the rest of life? Yeah, he never rebuked them their whole life. Even for murdering an entire city, Yaakov didn't say anything to his kids until the end of his life. Whoa! Like he didn't yell at them then and there? No. He waited until the end. So what do we learn from Yaakov? Like, when do we rebuke somebody, or when do we rebuke our own children? Especially as they get older. Like, when do we do that? We have to be really careful. Yaakov Avinu, our forefather Yaakov, who again, imagine if we could see him. Like, we wouldn't know what to do with ourselves. Like, he didn't rebuke his child until his child was on his deathbed. That was the last things he was going to say to his children. That's a very deep message. Another thing that I think I mentioned here once before, but think about this also. Like Avram Avinu, how many times does he tell his child what to do in the Torah?
No.
It's very, like, even their interactions are few and far between. What does that tell us? Like, education is about setting a good example. That's what it's all about. Like, if we can set a good example, and our kids see us setting a good example, so then look at what will happen to our education. Like, the positive example comes from us. So, let me talk about one last concept and kind of tie it all together. I was at a lecture, in the lecture they were talking about mindfulness. What's mindfulness? Mindfulness is the ability to just be quiet. Like, to just take time and just think for yourself. So, where is that in Torah Judaism? Like, let's talk about, like, yoga and meditation. Like, where does that fit into Torah Judaism? Okay, so here's the history. Meditation was major. Thousands of years ago, and our ancestry literally had schools just for meditation. And what happened in meditation? One would meditate, and if one knew how to meditate in the proper way, they would actually be able to get to a point where they would have prophecy. So they had schools that you can go to school, you could become a meditator, meditate properly, and then have a prophetic conversation with Hashem, like when you get to that level. And there were schools that taught you how to do that. So what happened? It was hard. So what happens when something's hard? There are other people that find an easier way to get there, but it's not always the right way. So there were other schools that opened up that were not in the right way. And people would flock to those. And the rabbis were worried that we were going to lose a lot of our people to those meditation practices. And if we would lose them to that, then it would be a major problem with the Jewish people. So the book of meditation, so to speak, was kind of closed. It was only told to some people, or only some people know. So where do we find meditation? Ready? The whole concept of Shemona Esrei, of davening Shemona Esrei, of saying Shema, is all meditation. It's literally supposed to be a meditative act. From the second we take our 3 steps back, why are we doing that? Like when we close our eyes, what are we envisioning in front of us? We're in Israel. The Baal Shem Tov says, wherever your mind is where you are. If your mind is in Israel, you're in Israel. You close your eyes for a minute, and you envision yourself in front of the western wall. Right? I'm in front of the wall, and I'm davening to Hashem in front of the wall. That's where I am. Like, that's what a meditative experience is. So everyone's had a dream before, right? Imagine you close your eyes and see that when you close your eyes. That was possible. Like, so if you close your eyes right now, what you'll see inside, what you'll see is you'll see the static, like when you get to a TV channel. Right? Everyone try it for a second. Close your eyes for a second. Just close your eyes and look at what you see. What you see is a lot of blinking lights, right? A lot of blinking lights like static, right? One who's able to master those lights, they can actually get visions to see things in a way where you can't even experience them when you see them in real life. That's what real meditation is. When we get to Shemona Esrei and we meditate and we come in front of the wall and then we dive into Hashem and we visualize those words and we visualize those experiences, like it's a much different experience. And so if we're able to close our eyes and get to that point where we can meditate ourselves and we can get that quiet. So you ready? I'm going to give you an exercise you can go home with, okay? Everyone awaken up for me? One exercise, okay? Everyone can stay with me for one exercise, okay? Everyone's going to close their eyes. We're going to do it together. Ready? Standing up. You got to sit up straight. No, sit up, sit down straight, and this is how you have to sit. Ready? Like this, hands on your knees, sitting straight, back straight. Okay? Everyone straight up, though.
Back to school.
If you know how to use this exercise, it will help you every single day of your life. Ready? Like this, hands on your lap like this, okay? But your back has to be straight. Okay? I'm going to have you close your eyes now. Close your eyes. Don't fall asleep. Okay? Now, when you close your eyes, what I want you to do is, I want you to take in a breath, and you're going to take the breath in for 7 seconds. I'm going to count for you. So everyone's eyes closed, taking a breath now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold it for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. Let it out for 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, we're going to do it again. In 7 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold. Let it out for 7 seconds. 1, 2, 4. One more time. In 7 seconds. Hold. Okay, out for 7 seconds. Now stop. Now open your eyes. Now yell at somebody. Can you feel how calm everybody is? You can feel the calm in the room. That's what it means to just take a minute and just take in quiet. It's an incredible experience. Try it the next time you're frustrated or upset. Like it just takes you from here to here. Now you don't it's like wow. Like do that for like a few times every day, and you'll see like a shift in your whole life. Do that. Like close your eyes for 5 minutes a day, and just don't think about anything. Just sit down, close your eyes, hands on your lap. I do this all the time. I really do. It makes such a big difference. When I've made this a regular practice in my life, like, you know what happens? When life gets crazy, you know how to find calm. And life gets crazy. And when we know we can find that calm somewhere, it's an incredible thing. And then we can actually do it during the day, even in times when it's crazy. But everyone sees, like, I can feel the energy in the room. It's like almost like a sleepy energy, but everyone's kind of awake. Like even more awake than they were when they were half asleep before. Because what happened? We just calmed ourselves a little bit. And by doing that, it just changes our whole being. And you can all feel it. Like there's a whole difference. Do that a few times a day and you'll see a difference. Let me just end with the following. As we're coming into Yontif, so there was, in the town of, his name is Rabbi Teitelbaum. Let me just see if I see where the city he's from. I don't have the name of the city, but there was a town that Rabbi Teitelbaum was the Rav of this town. And the story goes that Rabbi Teitelbaum had a man in his town. His name was Mr. Wozner. And Mr. Wozner was a very rich man. And Mr. Wozner, whoa, you made it just for the last story. Mr. Wozner was a very rich man. And Mr. Wozner decided that he doesn't want to send his kid to yeshiva. He wants him to get a good secular education. He wants to make sure that he's going to do well in his life. So Mr. Wozner decides, he tells Rabbi Teitelbaum, I'm sending my son to a secular school. I want him to have a good education. I want him to get a good job. So Rabbi Teitelbaum didn't say anything to him. And the Chafetz Chaim came to their town. And when the Chafetz Chaim came to their town, Mr. Wozner said, Rabbi Teitelbaum, can you get me a meeting with the Chafetz Chaim? So we're going back, this is about 80 years ago. So he says, sure, because he was a student of the Chafetz Chaim. So Mr. Wozner is sitting with the Chafetz Chaim, and he asked the Chafetz Chaim for a bracha. He says, can you give me a blessing that my children should be matzliach, should be successful? So the Chafetz Chaim says, what do you mean? Your children are in yeshiva. That's the best blessing you could ever have. Now the story goes that Mr. Wozner heard that. He really wanted to take his kids out of yeshiva and put them somewhere else. Mr. Wozner heard that and he said, you know what? Whoa. He changed gears, and he decided he's going to keep his children in yeshiva. And one of his son Shmuel grew up to be, his name is Rabbi Shmuel Wozner. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he was the Av Beis in Bnei Brak, and one of the great leading sages of our time. Meaning what? The Chafetz Chaim was giving us an unbelievable key and tool. That it's not just our connection to Torah personally, but imagine the blessing that we have. It's not easy to send our kids to Jewish schools. I know that it's not easy. But what happens when we send our child to a Jewish school is that we get a blessing from that, and the child gets so much more, because guess what they're getting? See, parents will come to me sometimes and say, Rabbi Field, my kid doesn't get as much in secular education as they do in regular Hebrew education. So I'll say to them that might be true. But the lessons that we learned tonight, they'll never get that anywhere else. Like what we spend time doing tonight. When I sit with I teach middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade girls Chumash. What I'm able to give them in a 45-minute period, in that year, they'll never get that in secular education their whole life. I guarantee you. Like I can teach them lessons that come out of the Torah every single day of how to live life and how to live a purposeful life, and what we're able to do, and the way that we educate, and in the system that we have. Like they'll never ever get that experience, because Torah has an edge that's over everything else. Every wisdom is over here. Torah is over here. Do you know why? Because every wisdom is finite. What that means is math. There are people that can know every mathematic equation. Right? And there are people that can understand all of science, but they can understand all of English, that they can understand it really, really well. The Chachma of Torah is infinite. When you take something infinite and you learn something infinite, what happens to the mind is the mind expands in ways that you can never understand. So yes, my child might not be getting the same level of education, but in the end, what's going to happen? Their mind has exploded after sitting in yeshiva from kindergarten through 12th grade and then spending time afterwards. Like their options are beyond what we could, the one's wildest dreams. I have a friend I learned with in yeshiva, right? He said he went to Harvard Law School. He said he went through all of Harvard Law School. He said 1 year, a guy goes to Israel, a boy goes to Israel, studies in Israel for 1 year, he does more than a guy in Harvard Law School in 3 years. I heard it straight from him. Like we can't compare to what we're learning. The vastness and the greatness of Torah. And we're talking about Torah as we come into Har Sinai. And so I'm just ending off that it's not just us that we educate. What we do for our children is beyond our comprehension. And here's the thing. Never will anybody walk away from a lecture and say, unless it was really bad, like, I shouldn't have done that. Like, we might pick up our phone and play a game on our phone and be like, gosh, we just wasted an hour, right? You'll never walk out of a lecture and say, I wasted an hour. Or almost never. I mean, unless the lecture is really bad, right? Why is that? Because we know that we're growing and we know we're doing better. Like after 120, Hashem says to you, hey, you should have sent your kid to non-Jewish school. I guarantee you'll never get that question. Like if you sacrifice for your kid to be in a Jewish school, and you sacrifice for yourself to have the education, to take the quiet, and to let the Torah come in, and to take the lessons of Torah, like you'll never have a regret for it. Ever. And I'm not telling you like I'm giving you a promise. Like that's what it is, by definition. Take an infinite knowledge and put it into a finite mind. What do you think happens? Boom! Like unbelievable things happen. Like why do you think we naturally have a higher IQ than most people in the world? Why do you think that is? Why did Hashem give Jewish people a higher IQ? Yes! And guess what happens when you have a higher IQ? You know what happens? Here, listen, ready? If you take all the money in the world and you divide it equally between each person, right? What will happen over time? The same people will get wealthy again. Why? Because they know how to get the money. They know how to get the money back. Take 10 years from now, most of those same people, yes, there's a certain level of atzlacha, but most of those people are smart. They know what to do. The same people that sit around, that made the cell phone, are going to sit around and make the next thing. And then you're going to give your money, right? Let's take this, for example. And this is just by chance, so this isn't even using intellect. Let's say we all sit down around the table. I give everyone here $100, right? And here's the story. It's just, you just spin a dreidel, right? Or you spin, or you guess a number, right? And each person wins. In the end, the winner plays the winner, the winner plays the winner, the winner plays the winner. Like in the end, one person's going to walk out with a lot of cash and everyone's not going to have it. Right? That's what's going to end up happening. Now that could be more based on luck. But at the same time, like, when we think about, like, okay, so we are very intellectual beings, right? So intellect is not just science, math, English, and writing. It's much bigger, because Torah is so much bigger. Like, I see guys, I have friends, like, they went to yeshiva, like, they are so successful. Why are they so successful? Because they learned how to think. Like, in North Korea, they learned Talmud. Why? It is the sharpest book that exists in the world. There is no book that will make you smarter. We say in the tefillah, Torah is machkimas pesi. It makes the foolish smart, chacham. A pesi is a fool. A chacham is a wise person. Torah is machkimas pesi. What does that mean? When somebody engages in Torah learning, that means we shut the phone off and we focus on the Torah. And we put our kids through that. Do you know what happens? Chachamim blossom. Wisdom prevails. And you know what happens with the wisdom that we have? I'll end off with this because it's late, yeah? Somebody once came to the Chavetz Chaim and said, I learned, but I don't remember my learning. So the Chavetz Chaim said to him, let me tell you something. What happens is when somebody has a cataract, there's basically skin that grows over and it has to be cut. So you can't see. Then they cut it and then you can see again. The Chavetz Chaim says, you learn, you forget it, guess what's going to happen? After 120, you're going to remember everything that you learned. All that we have after 120 is all what we fill in here. That's it. This consciousness that you have right now, that we all have, that's all that we're going to have up there. This consciousness, nothing more. Right? We're not taking, right? There's, the saying is, I've never seen a moving truck behind a hearse. Right? When a person's coffin is going, like, they don't have their stuff with them. It's just the coffin that goes in. That's it. So what do they have? Only what's here. Whatever we put here. So, what's bigger than mathematics? Science, English, social studies. What's bigger? Torah is so much bigger. It's all there too. So when we fill ourselves with Torah, we also set a foundation for all other wisdom. Torah also helps us find who we are as individuals. Like maybe I'm not so good at science. The Torah will help me develop myself as a person. So I shut off that noise, as all of us in here, and I give some time to Torah. I give some time to my children. I let my children have the opportunity of having that wisdom of Torah to help me grow. That's what we're coming to on that's what we commemorate on next Shabbos, this coming Shabbos. That's what receiving the Torah is. We have something that's greater. We have something that's better than anybody else has. This is an incredible gift that we have. And Hashem gave us intellect to use that gift. And that intellect is what drives us. And that intellect is what we're going to have after 120 that will carry us through and we'll have in the world to come only what we put in here. And that's the gift that we get on Shavuos. So my bracha, all of us, is that we come on Shavuos to that recognition of this unbelievable gift that we have. And we see the facts. Like, the facts are, a Jew starts, their IQ of most Jews starts, like, above any other nationality. Like, we started about 115. The only nation that's close to 115 are Asians. Like, no one else is close to that. Why did Hashem do that? Because our life is based on building that intellect of Torah that we have inside of us and letting it grow and grow and grow and fester and it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And then everything else fits into it. And that's a gift that we commemorate on Shavuos. That we have that opportunity for ourselves. And the better that we become, the better our children become. The more that we learn Torah, you'll see, the more that you know, your children are going to want to know more. The more that we're connected, the more our children are going to want to do. Like, we should all be blessed with a rebellious child that wants to know more Torah than us. The child that questions us in the halachas that we have. We should all be blessed with a child that comes home and says, you know, I learned in yeshiva like this. Like, yes, I would love that. That's great. That our child should want to have more Torah and more knowledge and fill themselves more and more. That's the bracha that we have. Okay, Chodesh Tov.
Go ahead.